Now we'll jump into more exciting things. So almost just a few days ago, we celebrated ChatGPT's birthday, right? At least a few of us on the internet, on Twitter, everyone was very excited. It celebrated 1 year. But we didn't celebrate the other birthday, which was Jugalbandi's. So, yeah, and this was really exciting. You know, it's amazing what's happened in the last sort of exactly 1 year to this date. You know, how Jugalbandi really captured the imagination of the world, right? That, you know, for the first time, you know, sort of the most cutting-edge tech was being applied really at the base of the pyramid, right? And it was going to... And I think it resonated with people because it sort of solved two problems simultaneously. It solved the language divide, right? Now I could ask questions in my local language and get back contextual responses. It also solved the technology divide, right? Because it became really accessible in something like a WhatsApp or a Telegram bot. And of course, this could be deployed anywhere. So I think Jugalbandi was really interesting because it suddenly took the information problem, right? It solved for the information problem. So we went from, say, 0 to a huge level, let's say 60, 70, right? Maybe next slide. But what we want is also action, right? That, you know, a farmer is looking for schemes. That's great. They get to know more. But then they're like, why can't you apply for me also, right? But that is a very complex process, right? Imagine applying for like one of these schemes, right? You'll have to do a KYC verification. You'll have to give some sensitive data. And then you'll have to pay a deposit, right? Today, it's very hard to do this with AI tech, right? We're inching forward. Some of the challenges that, you know, all of us face in the room is that obviously we don't have the technical expertise, right? To get a demo working with AI is pretty easy, right? Go to ChatGPT, say, hey, write me the code for this. We feel very happy. But deploying it in the kind of situations that we deploy, right? Like building a bot for, say, farmers, building a bot for in healthcare, education, legal, the kind of edge cases that we have, right? Anyone who has deployed technology in the field will realize when we're sitting at home, what we define as the edge case is the primary case when we go to the field, right? So, sorry, what's an edge case? Edge case is like you think, like, yeah, so let's say, you know, edge case, so if you're doing a payment, you expect it to go through, right? And the edge case is that it will fail because someone doesn't have deposit, someone doesn't have internet or whatever. And you think, that's okay, it's not going to happen. 9 out of 10 times it's going to go through. But when you go to the field, it blows up, right? You're always hitting things like someone doesn't have internet and things like that, right? So before I joined MSR, I ran a startup for about 10 years, which was in the financial inclusion space. So I really understand the kind of challenges we face in the field. So the first part is that we don't have technical expertise to build for these kinds of, I would call high-risk situations, right? Because these domains, these are sensitive use cases, right? You don't want to give the wrong advice, whether it's legal or education or healthcare. And also, you don't want to confuse the population, your user base, right? These are vulnerable people, low tech, low literate, right? You don't want to put them into a place where, you know, it'll impact them adversely, whether it's losing 50 rupees or it could be denying them like a loan and things like that. So AI looks like the problem, right? I mean, AI seems like the solution that it can solve this kind of a problem. But if some of you have worked with AI, you would realize that it's a little mysterious. It's like a black box, right? So I can get a program working, but I don't know exactly how it works, right? Especially if you're not looking at the code. So, you know, we wanted to solve this problem because we felt like for Jugalbandi to really go to the next level, right? For adoption, for people like domain experts like yourselves, you know, in this room, if you really want to adopt this, then you want to be able to customize and make Jugalbandi do all kinds of things. But you also want that guarantee that this will work like the way you've defined it, described it, right? So that's where our project comes in, right? This is a very, very new project. The research is just coming out. We just published a blog post last night for this event. So it's called Programming with Representations, but you can just call it Power, right? What we're doing over here is we're focusing on AI-driven software development, meaning you have the agency as a user to describe what you want in natural language, like in English and Hindi. You can just say, hey, I want a bot that can do this. But when you do that, you also want certain guarantees almost, right? We're not yet there where we can say guarantees, but we're inching towards that part where we can sort of give you a high bar on software safety, reliability, and maintainability. Let me unpack that a little bit, right? What does that mean? So when I say I want a program to collect some information, do KYC verification, and then make a decision on whether we should give them, say, a small loan or not, micro loan, right? You want to ensure that the software runs through that logic. It doesn't skip a step. Sometimes it'll do a KYC verification, other times it'll just directly give the deposit, right? So that should not happen, all right? Reliability is that the user, when he's using the software, he doesn't get stuck, right? It doesn't go into a state where he's stuck now, he can't start again, he can't do anything, right? That'll put the user into a big problem. And the last part is maintainability, which is, whenever we do any kind of field testing, we come back with more insights. We want to change. This is going to be it's going to be a constant feedback loop, right? It's not like you sort of understand and build once and then deploy and then never change, right? So these were sort of the motivation behind this project. And I won't get into the technical details, but we have made significant progress on this. And there's a blog post where you can read more if you're interested in tech. Or after this, we can chat more. Yeah. Next, please. So we've tried to wrap all of this into what we call a studio, right? It's a simple web interface which allows you to, one, develop. So you can say things like, hey, can you add a KYC verification step after the user has selected a scheme, right? So it will understand, okay, first the user has to select something, and then you can do this KYC verification. So that's like developing the program. The next part is you can query it. You can ask it, hey, there is some program that's already written, but I can't read code, right? Or I don't want to read other forms of code. But can you just tell me what happens next if this request fails, right? So this is somewhere you can interrogate it. And then it gives you feedback also. Sometimes it can tell you that, okay, hey, what you've developed seems right, but it's not complete, right? You have not given us this information, or you've not accounted for what happens when payments fail and things like that. So these are all important aspects that people need to consider when you deploy code in any situation, right? And the last part is that you can also test this out. So the studio allows you to do all of this, and all of this in natural language, all of this in English, right? Today English, tomorrow it could be Hindi and other languages, or even voice, right? But the core part of this studio works in this way. Yeah. So I'll show you what this looks like UI. There's too much text, but just to sort of set context. So on the left-hand side, can you click next? We have what we call a developer chat. This is where I'm sort of describing what I want to build. I am an NGO that is sort of providing this service. I want this to happen. And in the middle, this document can be in text or it can be graphical. This is where the AI is telling us what it has understood about what we've been saying. Right? This is like a quick description of the program or algorithm. And the right-hand side is this test chat where I can iteratively test. Right? So I develop something, and then I go in the testing thing, and I can test it, and then come back and change the developer behavior. Right? So this is, the research has been put into this kind of a studio format, and this is what the middle pane could look like. It could be graphical, so I have steps, or it could be text-based. So as is the custom when you launch Jugalbandi, we've taken the example of SchemeBot again, right? But this time, instead of just providing information about the scheme, we want to actually apply for that scheme. So the program is like this, that you search for welfare schemes, then do Aadhaar verification. If the Aadhaar verification is successful, then submit the application. If it fails, try again later. If Aadhaar rejected, then do a different thing, right? So this is what the program is, right? Now we're going to introduce a step which will say, let's add a payment option, right? So as an NGO, I want to offer this service, but I want to collect a small token deposit. Yeah. So I go into the developer chat and I can say, hey, can you add a plugin, payment plugin, right? And call it after the user has selected the welfare scheme. So the bot understands that, okay, hey, a payment plugin you want, I've added it. But the payment plugin takes inputs. It wants to know what's the purpose, that's going to be displayed in the invoice. It wants to know what's the amount, what is the contact number, because it needs to send an SMS, right? And it says, okay, hey, I can see that the contact information is already there because, we're using WhatsApp or Telegram. But what should the amount and purpose be? So this is where it's giving you feedback. It's helping you develop the program, right? Some things which we wouldn't have thought about on our own. Yeah, next slide, please. And then once it's added this, it's sort of updating its middle pane, and it's saying, this is what I've understood. So you can verify, you can read it, you can look at it in a visual format as well. So now I want to go and correct this. And so I say, okay, the amount will be a fixed deposit of 50 rupees, add the scheme name as the purpose, and it has reflected that in the middle pane, right? So it's like constant iterative cycle of I say something, it reflects, it updates its understanding of what I want, right? And at the end, my program is still not complete. It's telling me that there is an error, but I don't know where the error is. So I'm asking it, why is it incomplete? And it tells me that the user flow is incomplete because what happens if a payment fails? Where does the user go next? So I'm saying let the user retry, and then this becomes complete, and the program is complete. So now that the program is complete, I want to test it out. So now I'm on the test side, and I can say hi, and I can play around with it. We can go to the next slide. So after I've selected a scheme, it can generate a payment link for me, right? So we can see the entire loop, right? Even before we deploy it outside, we can ensure that we have a sort of a robust code base. So once this is done, you're happy with this, you can export this, and you'll be able to deploy this, and share it with your beneficiaries, right? With your users. And again, like with Jugalbandi, this could be on WhatsApp, Telegram, or any other interface. Yeah, if you can go to the next slide. So we've been working with a few organizations in the last few months, and Bandhu is one of them, Social Compact, the Pulse, protocol. And it's been amazing to get sort of a lot of learnings from them and in terms of what will work. We're still very early stage in our process, so we're going to work a lot more. But I'd like to invite Jacob from Bandhu.
Thanks, Sameer. Great opportunity to talk about all the effort that we've been putting in as our organization. So a bit about Bandhu. So we are a AI-led tech platform that assists migrant workers in finding bundled jobs and affordable rental housing together. And so over the past 6 months, we've actually been developing an AI chatbot over WhatsApp. And we've been testing it and getting some idea of what are the possible responses, what are the possible queries that people would have in terms of structured and unstructured kinds of queries. They might, for example, say, I want to find housing in Ahmedabad with a budget of, let's say, 5,000 rupees. Alternately, they might say, today is a bad day for me, go into a whole thing about their life story, send a voice note, and then we have to parse through that. So it's very challenging for us to kind of standardize this and test it in order to give them a successful response. We've started out doing this kind of at a very small level with very direct kind of queries, saying, if I want to find a house in Ahmedabad, I send a voice note to our chatbot, and it gives us a couple of responses from our database. One of the problems here is that it's very hard to test this at a scale and iterate. And so what we see as a key use case here with PwR is that it helps us to kind of get behind this, beyond this black box of not understanding exactly what the AI is doing behind the scenes, but actually being able to allow us to test and iterate and save a lot on time and cost in the process. So thanks.
So this was code generated. And,
बंधु ऐप में आपका स्वागत है. कृपया अपना फोन नंबर दर्ज करें.
Yeah, so Telegram APIs weren't giving us the phone number, so we added this step. So right now we're showing it in 3 different languages. English and Hindi because of the demo, but you could sort of specify all the things that you want. You can. So the user is saying that he's looking for 1 BHK in Mumbai, right? And now it's finding all these. It's actually calling Bandhu's system and getting the information, right? And serving that. Sorry, it's a little noisy. So the user can select which one they like. Let's say in this case, if they want to open it and they want to check, so they've gone to Bandhu's website and they can see photos and, come back and say yes. It's a prototype.
आपके रेंट एग्रीमेंट के लिए KYC प्रोसेस किया जा रहा है.
So after you've selected, it's actually doing the KYC process. So you get an SMS from, one of these KYC providers called Digio. And this is, you get an OTP. We fast track that because it's really slow otherwise to wait for the things. And right now you put in your dummy Aadhaar. This is all connected to dummy, like the test sandbox of these services, but it's actually working, right? And it's all been built just by describing it, that I want this and that. So you're going to just put in the OTP And we'll come back to Telegram chat. And here is generated the signed rental document you see over there. And I think, sorry, yeah. Okay, and then we're going to the last step, which is payments. So again,
KYC सत्यापन सफल। हाई VDC घर बुक करने के लिए टोकन के रूप में 10 रुपए का भुगतान किया जाएगा। भुगतान लिंक https:/.
So you know it's real when it does something like that. So yeah, so obviously a lot more to be polished, especially focusing on the tone, manner, style of the bot, right? But the important part is that we're able to follow through not just on information, but also on action. Yeah, so this is what the studio looks like on the left. It's actual text. So, we want to, obviously, we will beautify and make this a little better, but we want to focus more on like the experience in terms of make it more friendly, right, where it can give you messages and feedback. And on the middle, you can see there's a diagram, and if you click on the description, it'll make a description. And the right-hand side, you can actually chat with it. And if you click on the plugin store, so we're going to slowly add plugins to this, right? And this is where the community can really come in. So we put in a bunch of simple plugins to get everyone started, right? From databases to payments and things like that. Yeah. So we're really excited about the progress that we've made so far, but we really would love to work deeper with the community. Our goal is to repackage. So we will open source our work that we've done at Microsoft Research, and the Agami will host this as Jugalbandi Studio. Right, and we'll have the Jugalbandi Play Store, so where all of us can sort of come and experiment, play with this, create our bots, and then one-click deployment. So you can press that one button, and it'll actually get published, where your beneficiaries will be able to use it. And it comes with some of these, it comes with a high bar on code safety, reliability, and maintainability. So we really feel like this is what was missing, and this will push the needle, hopefully. And we would love to collaborate more with the community. So if you're an organization that's interested in sort of you have an interesting use case, you would like to see how this works, we'd love to work with you. If you're a developer who wants to contribute to plugins and more of the studio, please get involved. And it's an open source effort, so we can't really wait to see what you all build. Thank you.